Okay, welcome everybody, and I'm very, very happy to see all of you here. And we're going to continue. Again, this is going to be our class. I'm not sure what we're going to do next week. It is Rosh Hashanah, so this is going to be our last class this year. And I'm going to post to see the polls if anybody would like to do the Thursday class as opposed to Wednesday class, which is going to be Tzom Gedalia. But I understand that some of you will not be able to do it because it's going to be on you're on the other side of the ocean, and it's going to be right the time for you to break the fast. So I'm not sure. I'm still contemplating on it. I'll let you know. Okay, so we're here. Kuntres Hahispaalus, and we are getting into one of the very, very interesting discussions here of how to differentiate between Hitpalut Chaiyei Eloka, right, and Hitpalut Chaiyei Basar, which is both of them quite novel levels. We should never look down at Hitpalut Chaiyei Basar. And in this sixth episode that we're going to be learning, the sixth paragraph, Rav Hillel pretty much explains another level, which is called Dibuk Chitzoni, which is an external attachment. And after we will understand everything that comes with it and the comparison between Hitpalut Chaiyei Basar and Dibuk Chitzoni, we will start appreciating the Hitpalut Chaiyei Basar for what it is. Okay, I know last class we kind of looked at it like, oh, this is not what the Rebbe meant, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we need to also understand that as we grow in our spirituality, it's like little children, right? Little milestones in the right direction needs to be celebrated. It may not be the end of the destination. A road might be quite long, but celebrating little milestones in the right direction, that's when they're going to give us a satisfaction to move forward and to do the avodah, because the avodah is not, it's not always easy to do. Why? Because first of all, it's the right thing to do. And everything what we do right, there's going to be a resistance to it. And this is pretty much the right time for us to discuss about the resistance, right? There's always resistance from inside and there's always resistance from outside. Okay, the resistance from inside looks like, I don't want to do it. It's too long. Who said it's going to help me? How it's going to help me? And so on and so forth, right? It could be lazy. It could be procrastination. It could be whatever else. And why in the world we experiencing these type of symptoms? Simply because our nefesh habahamis does not want to change. That's it. That's as simple as that. And it could find every way possible to prevent us from thinking about certain things, right? Or learning about certain things, or doing the work of review, because this is where the avodah happens in this context, is literally just reviewing the text. And this way she feels safe in the known. She doesn't want you to go ahead and bring into your head these lofty ideas about Hitpalut Chaiyei Basar, Hitpalut Chaiyei Eloka, and so on and so on. It's like, why she needs it? Like, come on, she's going to drive me nuts. So that's why let me keep my sanity and be in the known as opposed to in the unknown. Okay, that's the core of the nefesh habahamis. Now, a lot of times we also, that's hisnagdus from inside. There's also hisnagdus from outside. Why is outside? Well, very simply, because everything is energy. Everything is godly energy. We are all interconnected with everybody else who comes into our Dalit Amis, right? Our inner circle, our family, and then a little bit further circle, our friends, and so on and so forth. So when we change, our energy changes, okay? So that shifts everybody else. Everybody else feels uncomfortable because everybody's comfort is also based on what everybody else is feeling. Okay, so when we shift, we kind of pull strings unintentionally. Okay, and a person cannot really track their own progress so much in spiritual matters. It's very hard to track. We only track when we regress. Another way of tracking, when we compare to similar situations that occur, like for example, you're going to go to shul this Rosh Hashanah, you'll be able to assess how you felt your previous Rosh Hashanah versus this Rosh Hashanah, meaning you're able to compare it to something, and so on and so forth. So that's how you could also keep the track. But from day to day, it's very, very hard to keep track. A lot of times we feel that we're not on the level where we would like ourselves to see, but truly we are, and so on and so forth. So with all that respect, we're definitely going to be pulling strings, right? So there's going to be resistance, the inner resistance and the outer resistance. And that means you're doing the right thing. When these type of things happen, that's when you know that you're doing the right thing. When your nefesh Bahamas gets a little bit uptight, and you start slipping in, and so on and so forth. You know that something is really happening, and that's beautiful. Baruch Hashem, we're all here to grow. We all came to this world to grow, and this is the most beautiful thing, beautiful opportunity that Hashem is giving us. And there's no other creature in the world that has this ability to grow, right? For example, all other animals, they're not growing in their own awareness. We as human beings could grow in our awareness and really reach higher and higher. And that's the beauty of it, right? If we're always going to be segmented and remain the same, that's life is very, very boring. And it doesn't really matter how old are you, right? The beauty of humankind, and specifically of the Yidden, that we could always grow. And with Yidden, it's even more exciting because we could grow all the way till the Ein Sof. Okay, so we're going to go back into the text, Zrat Hashem, and just to remind everybody, we have this let me just turn on my annotation. Okay, so we have this Google Drive, right? And here you have your shorts. You could always listen. You could always go ahead. You don't have to wait with us. If you feel passionate, if you're passionate enough to, and you have time, go ahead, open this folder. You have here all the Kuntres Hispaalus, different shorts, 18 minutes. You could go ahead with the text. Now, this is the English Kuntres Hispaalus. Okay, just English. This is the Hebrew one. And these are mainly the two folders that we work with, two documents. This is Hebrew and English, and these are the summaries. Okay, so let's go. We're going to open the Hebrew English, and we're going to go all the way to our paragraph number 6. Okay. So after having a whole discussion into difference between Hitpalut Chai Elokai and Hitpalut Chai Basar, he is pretty much sharing with us something very, very interesting. Okay, and this is a fourth level that he didn't discuss, and let's look at it. However, at times, the very opposite can occur from one extreme to the other. Okay, belev Bosor. For one may be aroused, meaning he will have the Hispaalus only externally, with an imagined excitement in the physical heart of flesh, lev basar chitzoni, right? Lev basar, meaning in external flesh, meaning a person is experiencing Hispaalus, but you know what? It's a very questionable Hispaalus. Hispaalus meaning a person is very excited about something, But what is he excited about? Let's see. And what are going to be the indicators in order for us to avoid this type of excitement? Okay, right? And he may even cry out or scream with an external cry without any inner light or vitality at all, but it is not directed to Hashem. Why is it? Ki lo Hashem hu. It's not directed to Hashem. Very interesting. And interestingly, why would a person come into the state of this excitement? And for that moment, there is no true hisbainus in his mind, right? He's not really thinking about God. Okay, what is he doing? Only superficial thoughts, right? Only derech klal, only general thoughts. Okay, so I think this is very important. Derech klal, only general, right? Okay, general, okay, superficial thoughts. וגם בהסבוינינוס זויס שבדרך כלל אין בה בחינס השמיע בעומק, רק בחיצוניוס מאוד. And even in that superficial contemplation, it does not attain any depth of listening, right? Again, we're talking about depth of understanding, only a very external awareness. Okay? וגם שנקרא okay, Beloshan ha'olam b'shem dveikus or hiskashrus, and although in the language of the world this might be called dveikus or connection or hiskashrus, right? A person who experiencing that might feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm experiencing God. Ein el Hashem, he says, this is not true of Hashem. Ve'eino nikra b'shem chayus klal, and it's not called life at all. How do we know this? Because the pasuk says, right? You who cleave to Hashem, your God, are all alive today. Right? And it's not like this in this external dibuk that he considered to be as if dead. Okay, why is this so? Because his soul does not receive the vitality from the source from which it was hewed in, meaning chiseled out. Right? We all know that we're all coming from the essence of Hashem. So the vitality, the chayus, the excitement is not really coming from that source. It's coming from something else. And that's why it's called Dibuk Chitzoni. It's an external attachment. It's not dveikus. It's the same word he's using. Dibuk and dveikus are the same words. Right? But this is coming from something else. It's coming from klipos, right? It's not an internal it's not an internal chayus. Okay, and this level, interestingly, it's not even called the one who serves Hashem with his body. Remember the lowest level of Hispaalus. Right? Right? Such a state cannot be even called serving Hashem with the body. Okay, it's only serving oneself. Ouch. Merely hearing one's own voice. Okay, so meaning a person is pretty much involved with himself, feeling himself. Okay, and this has nothing to do with godliness.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay. This, has little to do with godliness. Ki Oved Hashem nikra al kol panim, right? Kishemispayel libo ubesora hagashmi me'el chai, Chaiyei achaim davka. For one is called a servant of Hashem only when his physical heart and flesh are truly moved by God, by God of life specifically. Right? What does this mean? What does this mean? Oved Hashem. Right? What is Oved Hashem? Like I'm Hashem's servant. That means that when I called Oved Hashem, when my excitement is from Hashem. That's it. That's just very, very simple. If my excitement is coming from something else, I'm not called Oved Hashem. Okay. For example, on the lower level, what it says, Libi ubasari yirananu, hayno halev basar mamash, right? My heart and my flesh sings out to Hashem. Right? It's a living God, meaning the actual physical heart of flesh. So yeah, it's going to be intense. Yes, it's going to be my heart's excitement, but it's my heart's excitement about God. If my heart is excited about other things, and as humans, we get excited about all kinds of things, right? That not necessarily is about God. It's about something else. And this Kuntres, right? And in any Avodah in general, and this Kuntres specifically is really teaching us to name things for what they are. It's not about judging ourselves. It's about knowing, oh, like, is it about God or it's about something else? And it's okay to be about something else because we are Neshamas Begufo, right? And we have Nefesh Bahamas, we have a lot of different inclinations. And if we want to get into something else, that's beautiful, right? Now, soon I'm going to explain you how this transpires. But let's just move on with the text, right? Sheyit'anek al Hashem bilavavi hagashmi mitzad ha'ava shel nefesh hativis gufa hagufani. Now that itpalut chay basar is when a person is really having delight in Hashem, has oneg in Hashem, in his heart, in his physical heart, because of the love of the animal soul that he's experiencing in his body. Meaning the animal soul is being aroused to love Hashem. Why all of a sudden my animal soul would ever be aroused to love Hashem? Because of the Hispaalus, right? It cannot just happen stop for no reason. My Nefesh Bahamas, the only reason when she's going to shift her consciousness is when I actively work to embrace godly knowledge in my mind and in my brain. And then she's going to say, oh, Mila, there is Hashem in the world. Whoa. So when my Nefesh Bahamas does that, then she's going to experience love towards Hashem. She also will experience love towards other things, if you remember, right? Meaning it's not a total shift. She likes Hashem and she's also going to like pizza. That's fine. But at least at the moment when she's experiencing love to Hashem, it is a genuine love. It's not imaginary. It's a real love. But with this Dibuk Chitzoni, the story is different. Okay, so now with our Nefesh Bahamas, Shegam hi mitpa'elet le'oves Hashem. Okay, for even the animal soul is stirred to love Hashem in little sense. Kipshutei shel mikra, right? As we know, the famous Rashi, there's two vases there. And Rashi says that with your both inclinations. The fact that our Nefesh Elikis loves Hashem, that's not a question. That's the only thing she loves. But our Nefesh Bahamas, she has multiple loves. She came to this world. She thinks she came to this world to make the best out of it, right? To indulge in the worldly pleasures. Okay, now she has a new pleasure, which is called Hashem. Okay, but at least when she's experiencing love to Hashem, it's a real thing. It may be momentarily, maybe now it's going to be going into something different, but at that moment, that's what she feels. Now, why all of a sudden it happens? This comes because the emotional traits of the animal soul are drawn after the intellect, right? As we know, this famous saying, right? So that means that's exactly what we're talking about, right? When we do our part in Amoyach, the meanings are going to be drawn after the intellect, as explained above. Now, there's actually advantages of this. Why is it? Okay, this love, this physical love, right? As we say, ahavat olam ahavtanu, right? Olam could mean two things. Ahavat olam is love. Olam also, la'olam void, right? Is eternal love. But it also means in literal sense. Olam is a world. Okay? The worldly love. What do you mean the worldly love? In our world, we have an expression of love. Baruch Hashem, can you believe what the world would look like without us experiencing love? What type of love we have experienced too? Our first love is the love of our parents to us. Then we have a love of a sibling. Then we have a love of friendship, right? Then we have a love between husband and wife, right? So we have experiencing love, okay? And it's real. When people experience love, there is physical things that happen in the body. There's a release of oxytocin, right? There are a bunch of other hormones are being, released. Dopamine, oxytocin. There's people excited, they're happy when they experience love. This is a real worldly love. That's what we're talking about. So when we're talking about Hashem, we're not talking about Hashem about this esoteric thing or being that is beyond us, that it's such a spiritual love that nobody has a relation to. It's not true, because Hashem loves us in a very literal way, in a very little sense, the way we know love in this world. And that's what Avas Olam means. Okay, it's very real. So that's exactly, so this type of love has an advantage. Why? Because our nefesh habahamis, okay, our animal soul is very much pleasure oriented. Okay. So she could really shift from ahavas olam to ava b'tanugim, which is the highest level of love that's experienced by our essence. And that's exactly what it says. And there is an added advantage to this, that one can even reach the level of ava b'tanugim, rooted in the very essence of our soul, the yichida. Okay. Now, interestingly, but our nefesh elokis doesn't have that shortcut, because our nefesh elokis comes from the world of ayin, and that's something that as we move forward, we will learn more about it. She goes through something which is called ava rab, is a great love, right? But not ava b'tanugim. Okay, and that's a different type of love. That's more of a spiritual type of love. Okay. Right? In a contrast, when there is no renewal of excitement in animal soul, right, that even though the godly soul has come forth from its concealment into revelation, right? So when the godly soul comes into revelation, at arousal is only on the level of great love, Ava Rabba, but not the higher love of Ava Batanogim. Okay, and he gives where we should look: Sitor or Pashas Vihi, etc., etc. Okay, now Masha'enkin Hispaalus Lev Basar v'Dibuk Chitzoni Kalan. Now we're going to go into this. Now we clearly distinguished that the person whose nefesh habahamis is aroused for Hashem, that's a real love. Okay? And that's considered to be Oved Hashem. Oved Hashem Begufo. Okay, he's not Oved Hashem b'nishmasei, but he's still Oved Hashem. Okay. Meaning it's not about him getting pleasure. It is about him connecting to Hashem, and he also experiencing pleasure. You see the difference? Okay, now the Dibuk Chitzoni is something different. The arousal of the Dibuk Chitzoni, Hu Esh Zara, right? That's a strange fire. Okay. Martichat Damim, okay, it's only boiling of the blood, Levad, Ve'ena Esh Hashem Klal, and it's not fire for Hashem at all. What is it? That's such a scary thing, right? Right before Rosh Hashanah, you don't really want to read this. But Ba'ashgacha Pratis, V'haina shemeyageya es habasar v'dam, okay, lebilti hisbainanus klal. He is forcing, he is exerting the flesh and the blood without any hisbainanus whatsoever. And you know what? This is when we try to attempt to be happy when we're not. This is when we try, like, oh my gosh, this is Yom Kippur and it's almost Nehila. I'm not feeling anything. I gotta feel something, and therefore, like, I'm, doing something about it. Okay, and this is a problem. Why? Because we are occupied with ourselves. We're occupied with feeling the excitement when it's like running a car when there is no gas. Now, what are you trying to do? Like, any car needs to have a gas. Okay, so the gas comes from his boinanos. Emotions are aroused through contemplation. That's how it works. You can't skip it. But when we are lazy to do the hisboinanos, we're lazy to do our part of the excitement, and we force ourselves to feel excitement because we have to feel excitement. That's where the issue arises, right? And we run into problem with that. What is it? Right? So what this person tries to do, only to heat himself up, to feel the excitement in his heart. Okay, as it will be explained. Okay, al damchem bilvad, rag benefesh b'damkol, right? And about this it is said, okay, by way of jest, right? Do not prey upon your blood alone, but with a soul that's in the blood. Okay. And also there's another pasuk, V'amar lo yichpetz ksil chulu ki'im b'hizgalos libo chulu, right? And the verse says, the fool has no desire, but only to the outpouring of his heart. Now, what happens if a person is engaged in this type of Hispaalus, right? It's just like, oh, I'm just going to be dancing, I'm just going to be jumping, and I'm going to become happy. Okay, that's forcing the outcome. And what the consequences, ramifications of this type of Hispaalus is that from this flows false imaginations, v'gam geus, and also arrogance, v'hisnasus, right, and self-exaltation. Okay, Kechad hegiim hagashmi, right, like the swelling of the physical valleys. Interesting. And what is it? Hafech habitul hamistayev mihispaalus amitis, right? The very opposite of the bittul is the self-nullification that flows from the true arousal. Okay, v'hainu machmas shehispaalus murgeshes me'od belibo. And now, why in the world is it like that? Because that hispaalus that he is pumping himself, okay, to feel, it's very sensible, right? It really feels as a separate thing. Okay, and this arousal is strongly felt in his heart. And therefore, because he feels such a very strong hispaalus, okay, he might come to see himself as a holy man in his own eyes until he actually becomes prideful. Okay, so now it's very, very interesting. It's a very, very interesting, very, very interesting piece. And given our discussion previously, we could understand why the Mittel Rebbe feels essential to mention this, because of the machlokes that happened between the Mittel Rebbe and Stir Shala, where people were very, very much drawn by the excitement and the expression of the Stir Shala, which is jump on a table and start dancing and all that. Now, person might ask a question. It's like, okay, like, what, we're not supposed to feel excitement in our lives? I mean, every single excitement has to come through our hisboinanos? No, that's not the point. Earlier, he did mention that a person could have hispaalus pikomis, that all of a sudden a person feels excited. He sees a tzaddik, he comes to 770, goes to shul, he has a chazan. The atmosphere sometimes picks us up, right? Not everything comes from our internal avodah. And that's okay. That's not Dibuk Chitzoni. We're not talking about Dibuk Chitzoni. We're talking about Dibuk Chitzoni when a person consciously pumps himself up to feel something that he didn't work for. If it comes mimela, okay, it comes mimela. Why not? What's wrong with this? There's nothing wrong. It's like Rabbi Yekusiel Lepler, right? In our previous class, we discussed. Sometimes, the tzaddik would come. He called it tzaddik prishol, tzaddik rishol. That was his thing. He didn't force tzaddik to come. I mean, Baruch Hashem, the Mittel Rebbe taught him that tzaddik will remain always within him. That excitement, the passion. But not always we feel this. And this is, what being human means, and that's where we can actually show ways avoida. Avoida is it in forcing ourselves to feel something that at the moment we're not ready to feel. Or the avoida is for us to serve Hashem. And if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come.
Mila, intuitively, something doesn't feel right. Because isn't it the biggest mitzvah to be besimcha? And if a person is going and they're feeling really negative and they just want to snap out of it, what's wrong with putting on music and starting to dance and making yourself happy? Like, I'm not understanding.
That's a good question. There's nothing wrong with feeling happy, and you have strategies of how to make yourself happy. That's fine. But we're talking about avoida here. We're not talking about feeling happy as a human being. You want to do it, there's nothing wrong with this.
So what's the difference between the two? I'm trying to really...
We're talking about different things. If you're talking about simcha as a way of avoida, right?
Right.
So then, if you noticed, in Tanya, when the Rebbe talks about simcha, he says, and you should think about this. That will bring you simcha. Simcha is a byproduct of bitachon.
I want to tell you something.
Simcha and bitachon go hand in hand. Simcha is an emotion. And that usually emotions, they're not just being born from nowhere or they're forced upon. Simcha is born by a certain mindset, right? And a mindset is born through a bunch of thoughts, bunch of subconscious thoughts that are embedded in our psyche, right? So when we, let's say, phlegmatic, right? You don't feel like being besimcha. If we're going to be thinking about certain thoughts, and the whole Tanya is about all kinds of different isbainuses, right? If you're feeling this, then think about that. If you're feeling this, think about that, right? Your simcha is going to be a solid piece. It's not like just like, obviously there are quick things, but simcha is a byproduct of bitachon. So when a person works on his bitachon, then he is naturally very simchadik. Right? He doesn't have to work on it. It's he just needs to remind himself about his thought process, and the simcha just flashes right out. You're right, you could do it through putting on a music. I don't see there's anything wrong with it. But here he suggests, the text suggests, you can't force the outcome. Okay, you could work on the outcome, and the work on the outcome is through the contemplation. That's the Hispaalus part.
Ila, like some time ago, for a few days, I was in a club of laughter. In the morning, you get up and you laugh, and I couldn't take it. Is that it just didn't catch up? It didn't catch. I didn't catch it.
Didn't catch what?
I didn't catch the joy that was that you can, that you ignite, you say, with the beginning with laughter, and then it goes more and more laughter, and then it becomes real. But I never
It
got
doesn't, you
really
see,
deeply.
but it doesn't, we never saw Rebbeim suggest that.
Okay. I'm glad to
So
hear it.
I'm really gonna stick to many ways of how the world thinks we should come into joy. But, as a Chabad chassid, that's why there's a Chagat, then there's Chabad, and, there are many ways of to serve Hashem. Like, for example, Breslov, they would just put on, music and start dancing. Hey, good for them, There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
but we need to kind of establish the ikar of the avodah. I understand that in some instances, this is what we will do, and somebody feels more compelled. But at the same time, this is really where the avodah is. And you'll see, for example, there's a famous letter that I really love this letter. There's one guy, he writes to the Rebbe that he has poor health. And Rebbe writes him back, says, you should envision yourself as if you're already healed. Okay. And what joy you will be experiencing when you will be already healed. Start feeling this joy, and that's what will bring the simcha. This is his boinus. That means a person has to find himself a place and time where he is just going to close his eyes, open his eyes, whatever he wants to do, right? And will have to envision himself to be completely healed. That's a lot of work. That's his boinus. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's not, and then, having that somatic experience, and then, keeping that within him, okay, until he is, and that will be the keli for his true health. That's a phenomenal idea of law of attraction straight from the Rebbe, it's like, whoa, that's what we're talking about. That's his boinus. That's a lot of work. That's avodah,
Yeah.
like, so, but stop just putting like a pencil on my mouth, and that's like kind of, it triggers me smiling. You could do that. That's totally fine. But I'm not sure if that's, what the Rebbe means. Are there times where we kind of emergency, you know what I mean, resuscitate ourselves from
Yeah. No,
depression?
it has to be.
Okay,
It
maybe,
has to be.
there's nothing, it's not right
No,
or
it has
wrong,
to
but
be intellectual. It has to be intellectual effort.
not necessarily intellectual. It starts with the mind. But remember, it's much more. It goes beyond the mind, because our mind is our consciousness, and our experience of the world comes through our consciousness. So if we want to change our experiences, we need to change our consciousness. That's where Chabad Chassidus is teaching us, right? Chabad Chassidus is saying us, you know what? It's not that you want to become an intellectual. That's not the goal. Goal is you use your mind as a tool to expand your awareness of Hashem and invite a higher, uh, higher
Okay. Yeah.
midas,
Yeah.
because the ikar is experiencing the midas, the transformation.
Yeah. But you start with intellectual effort, right?
Yes, that's why
Yeah.
Chabad is Chabad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I see
Yeah.
Shayna has her hand raised. Shayna, you wanna ask or share something with us?
Yeah, I don't really know the culture. I don't want to just speak up. I don't want to interrupt the flow, but I had a comment to the person who spoke before. And what I'm doing mentally, like, is using the word success sometimes, like, just if I'm having a issue with like differentiating the subtle types of pleasure or happiness, I feel like the word success, it's like, does that mean that I'm fruitful and I see my products happening? And in that case, it's like a external success, like I got a degree, I wrote a book, I made a seminar, or I did these like things? Or is it like I'm willing to take time to really feel successful? Means I have to go inward and see what my expansive definition is. So I feel like when I take that kind of like outlook and bring it to this, to the best of my ability in each one of our own lives, I feel like what I'm getting is an invitation of like, is there room for a more real happiness? And we know it's always available, but the issue is often that it's like I can't tap in because I haven't expanded my own like not just physical or material or somatic vessel, but my mental understanding of what I define happiness or success as. Like, so I might be holding on, waiting for this external manifestation. I have a big smile on my face and I'm glowing and I'm jumping for joy, but actually it could be like a deep peace that I didn't answer back to somebody because I have an inner peace, or, you know, like these little things. So I think the only way to really know if I'm happy is to check in and have the, like what you're describing, these sort of like finding the meaning to these words, like the deeper inner meaning, and taking that emotional energy and making the moment. Sorry. Oh, I feel like I'm echoing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Am
You
I?
just started. Yeah, just last few
Is it 'cause
sentences.
maybe somebody? Okay, it's gone. So I guess just my point is like this deeper, like the meaning of the words is like a felt experience. So to really
Exactly.
feel happy is so different than just like, oh, I'm happy because I have a person who does this for me, or because I have a job, or because I have money in my
Exactly.
account.
So that's where Shayna, you're bringing out a very, very deep thing, because something which is called intrinsically experiencing something, right? Intrinsically being a pnimi. What is it called, pnimi? Pnimi is that my inner structure is so solid that I am experiencing what I am experiencing, but pnimis, regardless of what the world is experiencing. What does this mean? That means that I'm so solid inside that the world is not determining my emotions. Yeah. And, you know, imagine you walking in and you're all happy, blah, 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 and you see somebody and they're not so happy. And then you also become not so happy, right? What does this mean? That means the energy affected you to an extent that you were not the pneumius. What's pnimi? Pnimi, you create environment. Okay, you are affecting the environment and you're not affected by the environment. That's what the true definition of the pnimi means. Right? That
And that's a shiviti that of the Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah, it's like you, that's what pnimi means. Pnimi is I'm internally so aware of who I am and where I stand in the world. Okay, that it becomes contagious. Okay, because I don't know if we touched this last class, but the vibration of joy and the vibration of a godly Hispaalus is so powerful that any of the lower vibrations, which is, you know, the anger and sadness and all that, we might think for some reason that it's the opposite, but it's not true. Okay, whenever a person intrinsically experiencing joy, and now the whole goal, the shift is to experience joy of our essence. And joy of that's why it's called atzmi. Atzmi, it's not totally badavar. It's not dependent on anything. A person feels his connection with his essence, with his God, in a way, it's very, very deep and subtle. And it's not dependent on anything. It's not dependent even on his Yiddishkeit. Can you believe this? It's higher than Yiddishkeit. It's higher than observance of Torah mitzvahs. It's the essential connection where Hashem loves every single Jew as is, with no strings attached. And when a person comes to realization of that level of connection that he has with Hashem in his full psychic, the joy, that's the freedom. This is what the true freedom is. That's a freedom from all the Mitzarim. And interestingly, in one Maimer on Acharon Shel Pesach, where the Rebbe says it's even the freedom from the Mitzarim of Kedusha, right? It's not only Mitzarim of this world, the limitations of this world, also the limitations of the Torah mitzvahs. And that's, you know, the highest joy. You come to it through Torah mitzvahs, obviously, but a true joy is that when a person goes beyond that as well. And that's what level of essence we're talking about. Yeah, and that is very intrinsic. It's not extrinsic. I'm happy not because of what I have, but because of who I am. Right? Because what I have, that thing goes away. Now I'm no longer happy. That's extrinsic happiness. Right? That means it depends on the davar, on the person even. You know, how many of us feel love just because we have somebody who loves us? Right? But that's extrinsic. It could be a very beautiful relationship, but that's still an extrinsic thing. When we start realizing our inner thing and we start, you know, the reverse psychology of it is that the more we awaken our essential happiness, right? Our essential love that we have to Hashem and Hashem has towards us, right? We're no longer dependent on all these people loving us in order to feel love. Right? And when we disconnect from that addiction and dependency, right? All of a sudden you see a very interesting thing that tension goes away. Okay. And these people start expressing more love towards us because it becomes much easier to love us when we are in that state. Because we're not looking at them as a source of our love. We are intrinsically ignited with a torch that never extinguishes. Right? There is always this light that never extinguishes. So the goal of the Alter Rebbe is to awaken in every single Jew this level of intrinsic motivation to do anything. So now this whole story with Dibuk Chitzoni, it's a scary, like, I don't know, I'm coming from a little bit Sephardi thing, so Dibuk is not a word that you want to hear. But yeah, it's like a very interesting thing. You know, once in a while you hear about, you know, story about this Dibuk. So, but what we really mean is not to scare anybody. What we really mean is that when we pump ourselves to feel in a certain way, and you know, it's the beautiful thing about this Kuntres is really teaching us authenticity, is to be authentic. I mean, I'm not supposed to experience, you know, whatever I want to experience. Somebody having a little tantrum. So I'm not supposed to experience whatever I want to experience and force it upon myself. I could just accept the way I'm feeling at this given moment. And this calmness and ability to accept the way things unfold in this given moment comes from a very serious level of bitachon, knowing that, yeah, I am connected to this essence, Shiva essence, right? But right now it doesn't display itself, and it's okay. But I'm not going to force myself to experience something that I'm not experiencing. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, your friend, okay? You're in good relationship with them, but you don't, I don't know, you just don't feel like, you know, you're not in a good mood. And they force you, oh, you really like me? You really like me? Will you do this to me? Will you do that? Okay, leave me alone. You know, it's like, I know my connection is there. I know it's solid. Not always it displays itself. It's like big wow, right? It's not always. And that's okay. I think the acceptance of it comes from this calm awareness of knowing that, okay, I have this inner connection. It's just right now not displaying itself. That's all. Obviously, we could engage ourselves in different isboinanos, in all kinds of things, but a lot of times living in a moment is the biggest gift that we could allow ourselves to do. Okay? Because usually we are very occupied by thinking about our past and regretting it, or by constantly thinking about our future and making plans. Okay, for example, Shabbos, this is the day where most of us struggle, right? we're supposed to be living right here, right now. You're not allowed to do tshuva on Shabbos, meaning Shabbos tshuva is on a different level, right? It's more coming closer to Hashem versus regretting what we have done in the past. And also Shabbos is the time where we should be right here, right now. We're not allowed to make any plans. And that's Olam Haba, right? It's one of the 6 years of Olam Haba, where we this is the moment where Hashem is unfolding himself. That's where the creation taking place. Creation takes place in now. Creation doesn't take place with Hashem. Didn't just create the world, and Hashem is not going to create the world. Hashem is creating. It's pulling yimsheches, and it's happening at every given moment. And when we become aware of that, I don't know that many people who are really thinking about right here, right now, and becoming very, very sad. Right? Because at this given moment, Hashem is really creating. Okay, and to bring us to right here, right now, one of the best strategies is being conscious about breathing. This is a very subconscious process that happens to us. Who thinks about when they breathe, right? But when neshima and neshama are the same letters, right? And that holds a very, very profound lesson for us, that when we feel lost, whatever we might be feeling, to come to right here, right now, is through becoming conscious about our breath that we're taking in. And this is actually Hashem's exhale is our inhale. Okay, so when we go to, when we become aware of that, this is a great opportunity. Right, and coming back to our discussion, the Meitel Rebbe really wants us to differentiate between Hitpalut Chaiyei Basar and Dibuk Chitzoni. And it's very essential to differentiate that, because both of them are very felt. Okay, both of them felt in the heart. One is external, Dibuk Chitzoni. It's about a person himself, him feeling himself. And the other one is him feeling God. Okay, so I prepared this little summary. Okay, and you have access to these summaries, and we could just go over this very briefly. If you have any questions, please ask. Okay, now, false Hispaalus, external excitement, right? Sometimes a person feels only external excitement, which is lev basar chitzoni, with loud cries and emotional, but without any inner light or connection to Hashem, right? The person does not have any connection to Hashem, right? Why is this? This happens because there is no real Hispaalus. Thoughts are shallow, and awareness is only external, not deep. Okay, it's not true dveikus, right? Though some may call it dveikus, in truth is lifeless, since vitality only comes from cleaving to Hashem, right? An external attachment, dibur chitzoni, is considered like that, right? So because it's about the person, it's not about the relationship. Like we see that a lot between the couples, right? Between the couples, right? Whenever the exchange of energy, right? The spending time together, it becomes of what am I receiving, right? Again, a very pleasure-seeking attitude, right? That becomes very, very shallow. That's already very shallow. Like there is a detachment between the couples, right? When the whole goal is the connection, okay? The connection itself also brings pleasure, right? But it's as a byproduct of connection. Where in Dibuk Chitzoni, I'm here just for pleasure. I don't care who is going to provide me the pleasure. Right? And a lot of times we will see people would be engaging in a lot of meditation, especially Eastern types of meditation, right? In order to have this endorphin release. Okay, so they don't care about Hashem. They're not doing it for Hashem. They're not connecting to Hashem. They just want to come to a certain level of brain waves where the endorphin releases itself just to feel good. Why? It's healthy. I mean, endorphin doesn't just release itself like left and right, right? And it is very healthy. That's fine. But if a person is doing it, that's why, all these Eastern cultures and all these meditations are a little bit on a danger hole. And the Rebbe spoke a lot about it when it was, all in the 70s when all that was coming up, especially about the transcendental meditation and all that. Because of this, right? Because emptying out your mind to the point where you reach a very deep levels of self-awareness, right? It's really an engagement with self. It's not an engagement with God. Okay, and especially if a person is doing it to get that endorphin rush. So where's Hashem here? A person is not really expanding his consciousness to know God. If a person does that, he also will have pleasure, but that's not his goal. His goal is a connection to Hashem. I think that's where the differentiation between Hispaalus Chaiyei Bosor versus Dibuk Chitzoni, right? So now, serving self, not Hashem, right? Such excitement is not avodas Hashem, but serving oneself, simply enjoying one's own emotional noise, right? This true avodah involves the body, right? Real avodah is when the physical heart and flesh are moved by the living God. Okay, even in the nefesh hativis, which is natural soul, right, is stirred love to Hashem. Now, and also in that sense, both inclinations are united. B'chol levavcha, right? There's a love of Hashem, both inclinations, right? When the midas and animal soul follow the seichel, right? Then there's also a higher level of soul, which is attained by it. I'm sorry, a higher level of love, right? That's ava b'tanugim, which is also the love of delight. So there is nothing wrong with feeling the tainug. Don't get me to Rebbe wrong here. There's nothing wrong, but it's where's the goal? The goal is a connection with Hashem. And the more we are connected with Hashem in our own consciousness and awareness, the more pleasure we are going to feel. Why? Because that's how Hashem created the structure. This is the structure. The first revelation is Oneg, is a Pnimis HaKeser. That's just the makeup of the world. And that's true with everything. The more I'm connected with my children, the more I feel pleasure in them. The more I connected with my husband, the more I connected to my friend, the more I connected with my Talmidim. Any connection will always bring pleasure. It's a fact. That's how Hashem created the world. But when the pleasure becomes its own destination without a connection, that's what we're talking about. Okay? So then it doesn't really matter who you go to. Just go to anybody as long as they're going to bring you pleasure. So the connection is no longer needed in a way. Yeah, you could just, that's already, it becomes Zara. Okay, and that's not, the kavana of the creation is. All right. So now there's also the external emotional heating without his bainanos is Zara. Okay, boiling of the blood, not Hashem's fire. Right? This also brings it to false outcomes. What is it? This leads to dimyones shav, which is all kinds of false imaginations. It also leads to arrogance and pride, right? Because of these bainos feel so felt, a person might, think that he became a tzaddik. He's so holy, he's going to be walking around blessing people. And it happens, unfortunately, right? The opposite of bittul, which flows from true Hispaalus. So now the true Hispaalus, because there is a connection, because there's das, right? A person, the more he experiences pleasure, the more connected he feels. The more connected he feels, the smaller he feels, the more he becomes dissolved in that connection. So there's no hargashat atzmo so much. He's not bold. He's really in the experience. Okay? But it's not like that in Dibuk Chitzoni. In Dibuk Chitzoni, because there's never connection to begin with, there's only pleasure seeking, right? The person becomes more yesh. It's me. It's all about me. Okay. And it becomes, very strong emotions in the heart, even causes a person to see himself as a holy in his own eyes until it becomes truly prideful. So that's, pretty much it as far as the summary is. And that would be a great opportunity if you have any questions or how this all relates to Yavodah, but that's. So now to answer Hannah's question that she asked in the beginning of our workshop, yes. So from this point and on, you could put yourself on a check, right? That's pretty much keeping your hands on your pulse, right? Whenever that excitement, you could already start applying everything what we've learned into this, right? Into becoming more aware when you're trying to force the outcome, because you can't really force the outcome, because you cannot really command anybody to love you, right? That was the whole question of the message you might get to begin with, is like, how can Hashem command Yidden to love him? Ve'ahavta. No, we could do mitzvahs. Yeah, you command us to do mitzvahs. You command us to listen to you. You command us to do all these beautiful things. But to love you, fear, yeah. Love you, love it's a beautiful, voluntary feeling. You cannot command a heart to love. So why Hashem is doing it? So the Mezrach Shemagid said, Hashem is not telling us, Hashem is not commanding us to love him. Hashem is commanding us to do Shema, to know him. And when you know, right, das, Shmir, right, Bina brings in das, right? That's already our Shar Yichud class that explains this whole process, the first chapter of how Bina awakens the das of the person. And once the das kicks in, a person's awareness changes, and automatically through das he comes to love Hashem. And the more das he will have, the more love of Hashem he will experience. So V'ahavta is not truly a command. It's a byproduct of Shema. Byproduct of the Hisbonenus. So, yeah. Okay, I've been talking a lot, so now let me hear you talk and ask questions. It's 1:45, and I know it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so it's one of the two. Either you understood all of you everything, or the opposite. Okay, I'll judge you l'chavas chus. I guess everybody understood everything, and that's basically it. Please review the 6, and if you could come up by the next class that we will have, if you could come up with Shana, you wanted to say something.
I have a question. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. You said someone, if they think they're like a tzaddik, they'll go around blessing everyone. And maybe I didn't understand your context. I hear what you're saying, but isn't there also like something to like even a simple person? Like, you can't everyone bless? Like, or are you saying?
No, for sure. No, I'm talking about, I was sarcastic. No, for sure, everybody could bless, but not bless because we're coming from our perspective of a bittul. Right here, I mean, some people just feel like they're holy. Everything is all right with them. Why? Because
like their blessing is special, not just blessing everyone.
Not
Okay.
blessings of every person is special. Oh, that we all know for sure. Every Jew should be blessing everybody. That's totally fine. But like they feel themselves as a very important self-importance. You see, in Klipa, very interestingly, the keli is separate than the light. In Kedusha, the keli is buckled to the light. The way like in Seder Hispaalus, you see that very, very often. Okay. The Chaiyei, is in Kedusha, the Chaiyei is an extension of the light. What's the Chaiyei? Chaiyei is how things are being expressed. In Klipa, the Chaiyei is a separate thing, separate entity. Okay, and there is a separation between the light and the Chaiyei. Okay, so therefore, the Chaiyei becomes so important. The expression becomes more important than the light. So the person might feel not really excited, but he's playing the show. So everybody else should think like, oh, he's feeling so special. You understand? So there is a separation between the light and the Chaiyei. The light is the energy, right? Usually in Kedusha, when you don't feel the energy, you don't feel it. You could still do things, right? But you're not forced to feel. Because a person has to be with a midas emes. A person needs to know with emesdigkeit where he stands. And that's okay. If you stand by feeling the ila, not feeling the essence of your neshama consciously, that's okay. What are you going to do about it? Maybe you want to learn a minor, whatever. I mean, whatever thoughts will awaken you, inspire you, or anything like that. Yeah. But you're not going to pretend that you are having this dveikus experiences when you're not experiencing it.
Thank
right?
you. Brilliant.
Meaning the authenticity is essential in avodah. A person needs to know where you stand, and that's okay. You're not a tzaddik, okay? You're not a tzaddik. You could still bless people. This is not a problem. The problem is that when you see yourself as so important, okay, because you just pumped yourself with this excitement and you felt like, wow, you don't understand this because this Ne'ilah, I was just like flying to Atzilus. You understand? You might feel like that. Yeah, because that's what delusion is. Delusion is that when I'm envisioning something that's not a reality. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
that's why when
The-
we're talking about spiritual experiences, yeah, we want to guard ourselves. We want to experience true, authentic things. We don't want to experience ourselves, with our own delusions. Right? I mean, I guess we're all on the same page here, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you about your analogy with the light? That was so beautiful. I have an image and I want to see if I'm grasping the concept that it's like with Kedusha, the light is being transmitted through something clear so that the clarity.
It's like a hoof, right?
What?
Cows have a hoof,
Oh,
right? The
yeah.
hoof is not separate from the cow's feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have shoes. I could take
Mm.
off my shoes, and my feet and my shoes are two separate things, right?
Mm.
Hoofs are not two separate things. So the hoof is a Chaiyei, but it grows with the light. You understand?
Yeah.
It's the hardening of the light. That's how the Kalim are in Atzilus, right? That's why in Atzilus there's no klipa. Klipa starts forming from the world of Bria down. That's more the entities, the Bria feels separate being. You understand?
So how do we stay safe?
Atzilus, there is no separation. Between Netzalim and Ma'atzil, there is no separation. Okay? It's a very fine line.
So
With
how,
the Bria
like,
down, what?
oh, yeah. So I guess my question on this, I love the analogy. I'm really able to get a visual, which helps me to grasp this concept. And I'm wondering if to stay safe is making sure that our kavanos, we just keep attaching it, connecting it. Like, why am I doing this to make myself a better vessel? Even exercise, eating right, listening to the music and dancing. If we're consciously connecting it to Hashem,
yes,
that would
it
keep
is.
us
You
safe.
see, Chassidus is about conscious living. Okay, Chassidus doesn't want you to fall into habitual patterns of your animal soul.
Mm.
Okay, so the more conscious you are awakening from your sleep, right? When a person, hayinu k'cholmim, a true geula is when we wake up, okay? When we don't do things out of being in a program, okay? But when we consciously doing, and it's interestingly, like I was just reading recently, I don't know who of the Chassidim were, they were called Vilde Baal HaMoichin or something like that. I was like, wow, so wild geniuses that they were able to track every single thought for the past 7 years. That's like, wow. I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. No? Can you imagine how conscious these people were? Yeah, there were people like that in history. Like, it was amazing. I mean, obviously nobody's, I guess, expecting of us to live on such a level, to remember every single thought that crossed your mind, live alone the words, we say, right? So every single thought that, crossed your mind for the past 7 years, that's like a very high level. And these were not even tzaddikim. These were chassidim, like ordinary chassidim. Ordinary, I mean, they were special chassidim, but I'm talking about, we're not talking about like somebody, And yeah, so, but the more conscious we are, the more we're coming closer to the Geula, we don't snap into, right? An interesting thing, the Rebbe says Geula is here, everything is ready. There's absolutely nothing that prevents from Geula unfolding, I think, other than our mind.
I want to
You
thank
know what I mean? Like I think we just habitually live Golos, and we got so used to it that we just do it automatically.
I also
then
want to thank you for the breathing. You said when Hashem exhales, we inhale. That was so beautiful. that was gorgeous.
I didn't say that. That's I believe it's from Mezer Magid. I'll send you the quotations. If you are in our group, I'll send you all the quotations about breathing. It's phenomenal.
I'm not. How do I join it?
If you receive our emails,
Yes.
there is a link to join our WhatsApp group. So you could just join. Just follow that email.
Okay. I thank you so much. This is amazing.
Sure.
I don't really have the words for it but it's so at the edge. Like I have you're giving us a lot of freedom and a lot of space, but also very, 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 very clear reality. And so I really appreciate your transmission of this. And I'm loving every single word last week and this week, everything. I'm hanging on. And I'm sure everyone else were like, it's like food. It's so rich. Thank you so much.
Hashem. I'm happy that you're getting some Hispaalus. That's what this is about.
Deep, very deep.
Yeah, a true Hispaalus. I mean, no, without any Dibuk Chitzoni. So amazing. So I mamash bless everybody with Ksiva V'Chsima Toiva, Lashana Toiva Masuka, that, Hashem should have Rahmanas on us, that even though, we might not necessarily be there consciously, but since our essence of the neshama is always connected with Hashem, Hashem could just reveal this to us for free, just because. And as he constantly zan mafarnas lakol, that he should really reveal in every single heart, Jewish heart, a true revelations of his essence. And then we're going to be like, oh, that's what you meant. That's what it was about. Right? And we're all going to wake up from our slumber and truly live, because this is when the real life will be happening. Until now, we're considered to be sleeping. So we're missing on a lot of things that are happening in the world. That's basically it. So I'm done with my curriculum for today. And
push the reset button, please.
Which reset button? Oh.
The reset button to fix everything from childhood.
Oh, that will come in Malin. We don't need to. You're right. Yeah, that's going to be automatically. I think we're going to experience so much joy and ecstasy. We couldn't care less about all our wounds are going to be just nothing.
Okay.
And then we could actually, maybe we'll say, oh, the chaki anitani, right? We're actually going to thank Hashem for all the pain that it caused us. And we all know it's only him who's causing us pain. There's absolutely nothing. And when we truly will see the true source of all the seeming negativity that we've been experiencing in our lives.
Yeah, I took I just have to take my
Thank you, thank you, thank you. שנה טובה ומתוקה מאוד.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you for coming.
This is.
Good news.